Hello, everyone. If I can ask real quick, are we property managers, owners?
Property managers.
Property manager, owner. So a little bit of both.
Maintenance.
Okay, yeah, got to still take care of them. So, well, thank you for having me today. Thank you for coming out. And so I wanted to get started just by jumping into our biggest thing at General Wire is our company's originally was General Wire. We're general pipe cleaners, but we make springs. And that's where this idea got started. So what we've done to make our wire and rod cleaners better is we have a airplane grade cable that we've made, and then we wrap the spring around. So when you're going through the drain, when you hit that clog, the reason why you don't need to push our rod in, what we don't want you to do, is because as soon as you hit that, the spring naturally wants to tighten, and it tightens around that cable. So when you're at that clog, our best drain cleaning is when it tightens and it's the toughest. You might see in our competitor's cable with a wire in it, they've taken their spring and they've thrown a wire in. You can't remove our cable. If you want to try to give it a tug, it's not coming out because we've wrapped it around. And we've done the same thing with our closet augers. So I'm sure you're familiar with our closet augers. If you ever used them, they come with the same style of cable. Clark Devon has them in the back here. And a little smaller, still that airplane grade cable. And the one thing that we do with General Wire, so we've got our telescoping closet auger. Now, normally you get in there and you're going to pull it up. You always want to pull it all the way up because you don't want to scrape the inside of your toilet because you're never going to remove that mark. And as you put it in, you're going to run that 3 feet in. You're going to work it down. Now, you've got about 3 feet in your toilet, so you're at the back of that P-trap, maybe a little bit in the line. You still haven't clogged. Still haven't broken that clog, so what are you going to do? Well, the reason is you bought the telescoping, which some people don't know about, or they have it, but they don't use it. There's a button right here. So you're going to want to, when it's in, you want to detach it, you pull up, and there's clicked in, work it back. Now you've got an extra 3 feet, and as you're working it in, you've now got 6 feet. So now you've worked well past, and if you haven't gotten the clog yet, we're going to need to get a bigger rod. But so that now you've got 6 feet in there. And to put it away, you're going to pull that first 3 up. And then you pull it out of the toilet. And one thing that you might not see from our competitors also is we're guaranteed not to kink on our closet augers. You're not going to see many other companies willing to have you do this, and we're still okay. And then when we're going to our urinal augers, which I'm sure you have to use every once in a while, these are also telescoping. These go up to your 4 feet. And so as you pull up, it's the same mechanism. You extend it, and now you've got 4 feet into that urinal. Question?
Are you going to explain, like, if that 6 feet isn't enough, what that next step is?
Yeah, well, we can get it.
Coming up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so with now the only difference between our closet augers and this, because in a urinal there's tight bends, we do not have our Flexicore in here, so there isn't that guaranteed against kinking it, but they're very easy to replace. As you're just going to pull up and you detach, and there's replacement cables always on the shelf for the urinal augers. And as I'd been asked, so your 6 feet's not enough. After that, we're going to need to find out where that clog is. We can either, to find out where it is, you can always run a camera down there, or we'll probably need to pull the toilet and run a larger machine such as your Easy Router, which we carry, or a multitude of drain equipment. You can, any of our pipe cleaners, Speed Router, 92, and so forth. No, if with a larger mitt, you would destroy the china. Yeah, that's what these are made for, to navigate that first part of the trap.
And I was wondering, wow, what if it wasn't?
Yeah, yeah, no, you get close. One other tool segue into that also, if you don't want to pull that toilet, General Wire is the only company, and we have a lovely machine that people have had for 20 years and they love them, is the kinetic water ram. So what this is taking, it's taking kinetic force, and so I'm gonna, let's say I've got a closet, run my 6 feet, not there, but it's just a little bit further. And if your toilet's clogged, we have a toilet extension, which I don't have with me at the moment, but because you don't want to run this in there, it extends it for you, and you put it in the toilet, a clogged toilet, so it's submerged in water, and you're going to create pressure. As you're going to create a seal on the toilet, and what it's doing is in the water, it's taking the air pressure is traveling at 4,700 feet per second into the clog. You don't have to worry about your pipes because 98% of that pressure is hitting the clog and not the outsides of those walls. If you've got weak pipes, rods are going to break them before this pressure will. And so this pressure will circumvent your vents, leave those behind because it's traveling through the water. It's not creating pressure in air, so that's why you need to have it submerged. So we have a lot of different heads, and yep, right, yep. So you're gonna put it right at the bottom at the extension. There's a toilet extension, so this will never be in there. Yeah, there's a attachment we have specifically made, which I did not bring with me today. Yeah. So then, and then you release. You build up in 5-pound increments of pressure. And between 20 and 40 pounds normally clears any clog. Yes. And if you had one, this is a great, because it's a time saver. If you have a kinetic water ram, it's a great tool to have. Can I follow up with you on price later? Yeah, great. So after the kinetic water ram, we can also, getting back to our FlexCore cables, we have a great tool called, this has been around a long time, the Super V. So we've got our Super V and Power V. And this tool, it's got the chuck in the front. So as you're feeding it, you pull your cable out, pull my chuck back so it holds it in. And then as you're running, you're going to just run it to, pull it back out, extend my rod out, pull the chuck again, and so it's nice and quick action. So you don't have to be, messing with it too much. Go ahead.
The price on the water ram is $265.
Thank you. And so we've got this tool, and one thing I want to point out, we always run this in forward. We don't, if I'm retrieving it, I'm going to run it in forward, pull back, and it's the way this is spinning. The only time I run in reverse if I'm stuck, I might run it for a couple seconds, switch it back into forward, and then I'm retrieving out. No, this is our. We do have machines in the back that do attach to standard drills. This is our Super V, which is all built by us. If, let's say, you want to use a bigger cable or a different cable, or want to clean your cable off, all you do is disconnect the screws, and what's in there is a canister. So you can take it out and easily hose it off, or you're going to have one or two of these 1/4-inch or larger cable, or the 3/8, and pop it in there, and you can go onto a bigger drain.
Specific purpose for this kind of routing is kind of like just where you open up the access thing?
So nice. We kind of make a guide on which tool to use. So if you're looking at sink drains, so we have it pointed out, clogged tubs, kinetic water ram, or the Super V, Power V. Those are great tools. And so as I've just talked about our manual feed Super V, that is one thing why we made the Power V. The Power V has a power feed. So this tool, instead of having to pull out, I have put it into the pipe, and it's going to self-feed for me. So I'm just running it, and it's feeding. I've hit the clog. I'll take it off my power feed, and it'll run. I get through it, and I'll just clean the rest of that line. Now, the Power V is the only machine, when I want to retrieve it, flip it into reverse, and it'll pull out for me. That is because of the power feed. It's going to be pulling it out, and I'm not worried about that kinking in my drum. And then just switch it into forward, pull it out. And if we've ever been under sinks and cleaning out, you're on your back, it's not the most comfortable. You normally don't have that much room. That is why we created the handy stand. So let's say you have a Power V. I can take my handy stand out, and I'm going to run it in here. Sits right in. And now I don't have to be on my hands and knees. So you can have it facing this way, or depending on where I can run it from here, pull it out, and I just feed it in. No, I'm not even feeding it in, that's with the Super V, sorry. I'm running it, but I'm going to be guiding that if I'm having it facing up. But you can kind of have it sitting wherever you like it. So it makes life a little bit easier. And as we're going up to our larger drain lines, we've, luckily, Clark Devon had a nice large easy router for me to show you. And this machine, we've got our speed router, we've got many different large cable machines. But as I go on this one, this is for about 3 to 6 inch lines. We got a 5/8 cable in here, 100 feet, and with a 3/4 horsepower motor. I'm gonna loosen the chuck when I get to the front, and that is gonna allow me to pull it out. As I'm feeding that, then I will tighten it, and I'll be running it into the drain. And it'll be spinning, and that chuck's holding my cable in place. It's not going to be pulling it. I'm the one that's going to be manually feeding it in. A couple safety tips. If you're sitting in water, please don't turn the machine on. These are electric. And, which I had meant to mention earlier, whenever you're using drain cleaning, pair of nice gloves and eye protection, you know what you're cleaning. And from there, let's get into a little bit different than our drain cleaning. Yes. Yes, they have drain cleaning machines such as this one, as well as my next item is the Hot Shot. But yeah, they have many rods. They also have Super Vs for rent. If you have dealt with this winter frozen pipes, I'm sure you had my dad's a plumber in Oak Park. He went through about 12 calls within 2 days of just frozen. It happens. We didn't have it for 3 years, and now we got hit with them. We got the Hot Shot. So general, we have 2 different versions, the HS 400 and the 320. So Clark Devon has one in their rental stop, which is the HS 400. You get an option of a high-low. So you can have one machine. If you have a 14 amp breaker, and you have our 400, it can still work. So the 320 runs on a 14 amp breaker. The HS 400, you can have a 20 amp breaker, which allow you to thaw those lines quicker, or you can go down to the low, and that brings you back down to the 14 amps. So the 320 and 400 stands for amps of power coming out. So that the 14 amps is gonna give you 320, and that'll clean about up to 1.5 inch lines, up to 100 feet. Your 400, so if you got a 20 amp breaker, you're going to get up to 175 feet, 1/8 of an inch, up to those 1.5 inch lines. All it does, you're just plugging it in. It's got a circuit breaker on there, so surge protection. And to use it, the machine comes with 2 20-foot cables. You want these at least 15 feet apart. So And to be able to thaw, you're also going to want to disconnect any grounds, your cable, your TV, your telephone, anything that's already ground. You're going to want to move those from the ground wire just for safety precaution. You never want to leave this machine running by itself. And when using these cables to increase the efficiency, have them laying straight. You don't want them. I would never use them coiled up like this. You're losing. It's going to take you longer to thaw out your pipes. So you lay them flat. Don't have these will heat up the longer it takes. When you're looking at half-inch pipe, you're looking at about 2 to 3 minutes of thawing time. 1.5 inch copper pipe at a 100-foot run, you've got about an hour there. But it also depends on your use. When I'm using it, when I've been with my dad using them, I'm normally not thawing 100 feet of pipe. I don't want to thaw at 100 foot of pipe and find out that I burst in 4 sections. I don't want to be repairing 4 sections in a house. So I would do small sections at a time, safer, quicker. You got one leak, fix it, done. And then you can go on from there. If there's any other questions, you ever want more of a full-on demo, we can talk about that. We can always set up with Clark Devon, and we can get something going there. Okay, so let's say you've got a frozen line, and your faucet on the far end of your house, when it was originally installed, they installed those pipes on the outside, no installation, against code, but it happens all the time. I'm going to connect one of my clamps to the faucet that's frozen, and then I'll take the other one and connect it to the nearest source on the pipe that is not frozen. So essentially what I'm doing is running a current through the pipe, and I'm just running it's a low voltage current, but it is heating that outside slightly, and then what's going to be melting the inside is the running water that I've now created. So that's how that freeze gets rid of. I'm not going to superheat the pipe because that can just get, if you're heating cast iron. So this will work on your cast iron or any metal pipe. Sorry? The leaks will be freezing because expanded. No, yep. If you ever seen your sillcock burst on the outside, it's that frost got in there, and you have a nice purge. And from there, I don't have it with me sadly, because normally at this time of the year, the weather does the freezing. I don't need my cold shot. But if you want some literature on it, when you have, let's say you've had leaks in the past and you don't have any isolation valves. So as long as the water's not running, or you want to add a new T and run a new line, we have the cold shot. So you're using CO2, liquid CO2, and this, as long as minimum of 12 inches apart. And what I'm essentially using CO2 to freeze on 2 different sides. There's multiple styles of this, but we find ours the most efficient because our clamps are smaller and they let less air out, or CO2 out, so it happens quicker. I'll talk through the steps. So I'm going to take my section of pipe, and then I will attach my clamps. I don't want to over tighten. If you over tighten the clamps, one, you have a potential of cracking them because you're over tightening. And we also want the excess air to escape because you don't want to super freeze our heads. Again, you could crack them. And then you will take your CO2 and connect it. And again, if you ever want a demo, that's what we're for Clark Devon, a full-on demo. But just talking through it, if it is out there, and we're happy to show you.
Are those machines for rental?
Yes, you have the cold shot? That is lovely. And then finally, so let's say you've got your, you've run your Power V, your Super V, and you're happy, you've got the drain, it's running. 2 weeks later, you've got a callback. I'm clogged again. And it's a kitchen line, so you've got an 1.5 inch, 2 inch pipe. Kitchen, your customer, your homeowner, your tenant, whatever, likes to pour some grease down their drain every once in a while. It never happens, I know, just speculation. So you've punched a hole with your Super V. you've now made about, depending on the size, the cutter you used, you've made a hole in that grease, and it's getting the grease out, the water out. Thank goodness they're good to go. Well, I want to little bit of longevity. I'm going to use my JM 1000. This is our mini jetter. So it's going to take 1,500 psi of water, and all I need is 1.4 GPMs. So I've got a 30 or 50 foot run, whichever one. Much further than that, you start to lose pressure. And I can connect to a hose connection, or we've also got a faucet connection. And I call this the oh no connection, I guess, because it's a hose clamp. You connect this to here, and I connect to whatever water source as long as I'm getting 1.4 GPMs. The machine has a safety precaution. It's going to shut off, and you're going to know when you're not getting enough water to it. And so as I connect, I will have my different heads. I've got different angles. I've got one that shoots from the front and the rear, so it can also somewhat punch a hole if there's anything else creating in the front. Or a spring leader. This helps me when I'm coming up to that sanitary tee or a cross, I'm going to fall. So it's easier to lead through. If you got a sharp bend, you got old pipes and don't know what the heck that plumber was doing 50 years ago in that old cast iron, you can now get through there easier. And also a cleaning kit. You always want to make sure your heads are clean because you don't want any blockages. The machine will tell you if it's blocked because it's going to be pulsing, and you'll pull it out and clean it. The way this works is as you're running it through, it's not the running through that's cleaning it, which is being pulled through our vibra pulse. All of our jetters have vibra pulse, and it kind of leads itself in, which is great. It's pulling back. So that water is spraying backwards, and as you're pulling, it's scathing the insides of those lines, and then so you'll pull back, run it forward, pull back, run it forward, and that'll essentially, you've cleaned out your lines. You want to make sure you don't want to be completely blocked when you're using this because you're adding water to the line. So you punched a hole. Correct. Well, yeah, it doesn't have to go all the way through the hole, but yeah, you'd work it all the way in as far as you believe that clog it. Then you're pulling back, pull back. It's a tug of war a little bit because you want to clear those lines.
What's the maximum size pipe we can use this on?
You're looking at about 3 inches for this machine. But we also have many machines, the JM 1450, the JM all the way up to the 290, which I think we passed out those rebates. We got factory rebates on those larger machines. So, you get all the way up to a Typhoon trailer jet, which the city and municipality uses. So we've got your small to your small 23 pounds fits on your truck or on your shelf, all the way up to you're towing it. So we make them all. One other thing is all of our products made in America.